For this map design comparison, we'll be covering one of 3 remakes that Treyarch put in the game for Black Ops 7 multiplayer. Express originally released back in 2012 as one of the launch maps for Black Ops 2, and today we'll be taking a look at the things that have changed, a lot that has stayed the same, and pointing out some really cool details along the way. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like down below. It helps me a ton, and of course, make sure to subscribe so you can come back for more. But without further ado, let's get into it. Back in 2012, Express took place in a station along the Bullet Railway, a newly constructed high-speed rail that cut through California. And this station here takes place in Los Angeles. It was created in the image of the California High-Speed Rail, which at the time in 2012 was under development. It seems that Japan did indeed beat California to the punch, and of course that is where Express is set in Black Ops 7. That Bullet Railway sign that was once outside the map, but of course you couldn't really see anyway, well, it hasn't been replaced by anything here in Black Ops 7, and we can see that the architecture here has changed quite a bit since 2012. Originally being set in LA, the map took place right next to the LA River, while this new version of Express has a lot more nature surrounding it, and I suppose that fits the theme quite well. But just like the old one, it is indeed set in the middle of a city, right next to a little inlet. And there are a couple cool things to see out here. For instance, these buses seem to be from Verdansk, and they even have Russian writing on them. There's a whole bunch of ultra low poly cars sitting outside the map, and we even have some oomph soda, which I think is kind of some funny branding. But what about the map itself? Let's take a look at how it changed piece by piece, because there is quite a bit that changed. Starting back in 2012 here, there's something that needs to be immediately noted, and that's that this map is actually somewhat symmetrical, about a plane that cuts right through the center. It consists really of 4 different lanes, one here on the outside of the tracks, one that goes right through the tracks, another one that goes right along them here, and then a 4th lane that cuts through the actual lobby of the train station. But like I said, things are symmetrical, at least for the train tracks, so everything on the left side is copied over to the right side. For instance, we can see those blockers there on the train tracks, and in Black Ops 7, of course, they are there once again, although they have definitely changed this time. One of them is still a little garden, while the other is now a kiosk. And what's interesting, though, is the kiosks are different. This one seems to serve some food and beverages, while the other kiosk here seems to sell a bunch of anime, as well as other bits of artwork here on the wall, which once again has that image that reminds me very much of Transit, although I definitely don't think it is. But of course, one of the most defining features of this map Express is the train. The one that is stationary here in the center, of course, is playable space and adds an extra route through the map, but there's also the one that moves through it, and the models are the same between the two. At least for the exterior, anyway. So let's get a couple side-by-sides. For instance, here for the engine, we can see that it used to look a whole lot different, and I would say was probably quite a bit less detailed. Although it did have this little flashing out-of-service sign, and as far as I can tell, the train this time does not have any such signage. But even though the exterior of the train seems to have changed a lot, the interior is roughly the same. It's just that everything has been updated to fit the theme and, well, of course, to be updated to today's standards from 2012. What I did think was pretty cool to note, though, is that each individual part of the train has its own sort of detail, and that kind of theme for each train car has carried over here to BO7 as well. This baggage car was indeed a baggage car back in 2012, but it has changed quite a bit since then. And before we move on to the center building here alongside the tracks, there is one other building I want to talk about, and that's this one here that sort of is in the corner of the map. Back in Black Ops 2, there was an ambient room here with a couple chairs and, well, also a screen. But it seems that in BO7, this is no longer the case. Things have definitely changed quite a bit with these little buildings. Although this one seems to have a pigeon on top of it that's doing a little bit of a dance. And taking away ambient rooms is something that Black Ops 7 does not do very often, and we'll find that throughout this map that they have added a whole lot more of them. And with this one being sort of set on the corner of the map anyway, I mean, no one really cared that it was there. So we'll see later on in the video how the ones that the devs have added impact the map even more than these ones did. But talking about the map, let's take a look at it real quick. It seems that it cuts through Japan, similar to the actual railway in Japan at the moment. And we can compare this side by side with the Bullet Railway, although, weirdly enough, that map is not in the same location that it was in Black Ops 2. Back in 2012, there was just this Bullet Railway signage. And actually, we can see that this is the case for a lot of the signage in the map. For instance, this little kiosk thing here that lets you buy tickets as well as look at the different destinations. Well, it's changed to sort of a top-down view of the map, showing each one of the areas highlighted in different colors. But now it's time to cover this building, and immediately there's something we can see that changed right in front of our faces. There seems to be a pretty big difference here. Although the roof is still curved up top, there is now an ambient room that's been stuffed into the middle of it. It's an extra control room, I suppose. It has some chairs around some very low poly desks here that don't really have any detail to them whatsoever, as well as some servers here too in the back. There's this image here on the wall that I don't really know what it's of, but none of this existed back in Black Ops 2. Things looked quite a bit different from this angle, and a lot more plain, actually. But when we go inside the building, we'll see that the theme for each room has stayed the same. For instance, the baggage storage here is definitely still a baggage storage area, and in fact, the sign out front says that itself. Which, about that, there's also this little information booth now, which once again is another ambient room, although quite small, has a couple models here on the desk, and I think it adds to this facade here quite well. Back in 2012, all we had was some lockers on each one of the walls, and that was about it. While it seems in BO7, where I'm looking right now, well, it's changed to elevators, adding a bit more dynamic to the room, I suppose. What once was an array of lockers, though, lining this wall, has seemingly been moved to outside the map, where there is yet another ambient room, although this one, immediately we'll see, there's a little bit of a dev mistake going on with it. There's a bit of a brush here that's just sticking through the wall that I'm guessing has been left here because it doesn't seem to be used for anything at the moment. And I guess the developers forgot about it, and now it creates a bit of a shadow when you look through here. It's very hard to notice when normally playing, since it does have backface culling, and you can only see the side that's facing the exterior of the map. But because this ambient room exists, it seems that the map devs decided to add some extra concrete here on the outside that have little elevated gardens. These did not exist in BO2. As we can see here, it was just a straight shot out of the map. But what is sort of interesting to note about this is if we go inside this concrete, we can see that there are some vents here on the exterior wall. Almost like this addition here of these elevated gardens was something that happened later on in development. Or at least after this exterior wall was created. Moving on over to the lounge now, this area, just like the baggage storage, has remained roughly the same. Switching on over to BO7, we can see that the chairs are in roughly the same places, and actually, so are the plants. It just seems that one of them has fallen down this time. And this little fallen over plant gives us a chance to talk about blending textures, because that's exactly what's going on here to pull off this effect. The dev that did this is going to hate me for it, but if we look really close, we can see some imperfections here on the ground, and how this sort of rock texture that does have some ridges in it is blended with the texture of the tile floor. And as far as I can tell, this was done with at least 2 different pieces of geo. One that's flat on the ground and is probably applied as a layer to the floor itself so that it can be blended with it, and another one here that sort of is erected around the actual plant. We can see how it bulges up from the ground, and if we go inside of it, underneath it is still this same texture. And actually, multiple layers of it. As you can see, my camera is sort of clipping through them. Pretty cool, and I think they pulled it off quite well. And for those who have never done any game dev and have no idea what I'm talking about, I put together this little mock-up here in Radiant, so you can see what blending 2 textures look like. But of course, I am definitely not a professional by any means. And out front of the baggage storage, once again, this facade has changed. And weirdly enough, I feel like this part of the building has been made smaller. It used to be quite a bit bigger in Black Ops 2. I don't know, maybe that's just a perception thing though. But one thing that definitely was not there in Black Ops 2 is that information booth, which has pretty much the same exact modeling as its sister room on the other side. But before we move up the ladder, I do want to get a side-by-side of this area right here. Things have changed a lot since 2012, but I suppose one thing that hasn't is there still are entry prohibited signs. It's just now they're in Japanese. And as well, at the top of the ladder, that elevator that we saw down below has an exit up here, which is kind of a cool thing to put together, and it lines up almost perfectly. and one last fade of the LA River turning into the landscape that we have in BO7. It is actually kind of insane just how big of a difference that is. Slipping on into the control room now, we can see how this room has changed. For one, that whiteboard here in the center that has post-it notes about the zombies coming, well, it seems to have completely gone away, and here in BO7, all we have is the signage for Sunrise Railway. The modeling, though, in this room is pretty consistent with its counterpart in BO2. For instance, this printer here even. Well, it wasn't here originally, and in fact it was on the other side, next to a little employee lounge area. And we can see in Black Ops 7 that this has been expanded to include even more detail. And even some of that good old hip whisker coffee blend, which, I'm gonna take a sip of the coffee. Because, of course, I have my coffee with me here this morning, and I hope wherever you are, whatever time you're watching this, you're enjoying yourself, because I love to take a look at these maps that really were something I experienced back in my childhood, and how they have evolved here over 10 years later. For instance, this little security desk here that had some code running on a transparent screen. Well, in BO7, this has been updated quite a bit, and shows shots now from around the map, which unfortunately aren't real-time video feeds. I did test that, but still cool nonetheless. So if you are enjoying this video as much as I am making it, leave a like down below, it helps me out a ton, and of course make sure to subscribe so you can come back for more. But without further ado, let's continue on with the next area of the map. Which, the next area to cover is Platform A, this area here that goes alongside the train tracks, and makes up the center of the map. What's important to note is that this is color-coded. There's a red side here, as well as a blue side opposite of it. And fading on over to present day, we can see the same sort of thing has carried over, although the colors have changed. This one is now sort of purple and pink, while if we fly on over to the other area, well, we can see that the blue has changed to sort of a teal. And, of course, the obvious thing here, both of the walls now have an animated screen, which I suppose that is a pretty big detail, isn't it? But just like the old days, in the center of this lane, sort of acting as a blocker so you can't shoot down the entire thing, there is a kiosk here to purchase tickets. But boy, has it changed quite a bit, and actually kind of feels like it has less detail in Black Ops 7, but honestly that does make sense, as they're using a screen here for the user interface. But we can also get a nice fade of the side of this kiosk, which in BO7 has some route maps that are exactly the same, and in BO2 we have a map of the Bullet Railway alongside a list of departures. In BO2, this color theme wraps itself all the way through the center of the map here, on either side. We can see one side's red while the other is blue, and it even makes it to these terminal pathways, although to a much less extent, but we can see the color of the text above is red in this one, while on the opposite side it is indeed blue. For Black Ops 7, there is no animation going alongside the top of these tunnels, but they are indeed color-coded. We have this one once again that is sort of a green and teal-ish color scheme, and one on the other side that consists of pinks and purples. But there is one effect that is happening alongside the walls, and that's this sort of highlighting. If we get really, really close, we can see how this is being pulled off. It seems that this highlight layer is a separate piece of geometry that's just simply being cycled through the area, teleported to each location, one by one, before it begins its cycle once again. It is technically slightly off of the texture that is below it, so if you look really close, it feels closer to the player than the wall itself. Although, I would say this is a pretty difficult detail to notice. But one thing that I noticed immediately that is gone from Black Ops 7 are the movie posters lining the walls. Unfortunately, they no longer exist, and I thought these were pretty cool because they are developer Easter eggs. These names here are the names of the developers. Ian Kowalski here, for instance, worked on Blockout, and most likely worked on the Blockout of this map back in Black Ops 2, since, well, his name is on the poster for the Bullet Railway. And then we also have Adam Hoggett here for Meltdown, which is also being made for Black Ops 7, and I cannot wait to compare that with the original as well. And before we move on to the main lobby and mall area over there, we do have one more thing to check out, and that's this security booth. And upon first glance, unlike the last one, it seems that this printer here in the center has not moved. And actually, that can be said about most of the modeling in this room. It's basically all in the same place that it was, a desk to the left and a bench to the right. But of course, with the different lighting in Black Ops 7 and just the overall, well, higher poly models, everything does look quite a bit better in Black Ops 7, in my opinion. Although some people do love that old grayish look that Black Ops 2 had, and you know what, I mean, I can't blame them. But while we're here in Black Ops 2, I want to go through this wall and show you that there are a couple models here floating out in the ether. And I don't really know why they're here, but it feels like this right here could be a hallway that goes right on through. And maybe that was the plan originally, I don't know. But the other side, unfortunately, does not have anything to match. And if it did, I would say that that is definitely my theory, but unfortunately, at the moment, I really don't know why these are floating here. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. And lastly, before we move on from the security booth area here in the middle, there are two ambient rooms here that are very easy to miss. They're very dark, there's no modeling in them as far as I can tell, and they're simply being added up here for some extra depth, which I love it when developers do this. To me, this adds so much to the map, and of course it takes up more development time really than it does resources. At least nowadays when we have much more RAM to work with. But finally, let's head on out into the main lobby and mall area that makes up a very significant portion of this map. And just like everything else, the layout is pretty much identical to Black Ops 2, although the models and, well, color schemes in general has definitely changed. Which about the color scheme, the teal and purple sides of the map, did carry over to here. I thought that was kind of cool, and it even makes its way all the way over to the bathrooms, which are in the same exact place as they were back in Black Ops 2. A small detail, but I like it. But if we go back to that elevator real quick and do another side-by-side, we can see that the blockers that are in the middle of this area are all in the same place. There's that ticket booth that's in the center, this sort of round one as well, and the J and the K ones off to either side, which I really don't know why the J and the K are there, but of course they are gone here in Black Ops 7. Either way though, each one of these blockers is in the same place and sort of the same shape as well. One thing, though, that definitely wasn't there in BO2 is this little teddy bear. Which this guy reminds me a lot of the teddy bears back in Modern Warfare 2 on High Rise. All the way back in 2009. It has that same little star on its chest that they did back then. And this definitely has me wondering if these are the same models that were used in Modern Warfare 3. Which I know this is kind of confusing, but the modern Modern Warfare 3 that remastered all of the maps from MW2. But either way, here in Black Ops 7, it seems they're using it once again as a little Easter egg that is quite difficult to see. Although I suppose nowadays you can jump on stuff and look on over. But one thing that is much more noticeable than that little teddy bear is some extra ambient rooms in this area. In fact, 2 of them, and they're L-shaped. If we go on inside, we can see they have quite a bit of modeling, which is nice to see. And each one of them has this little commodities tables with some juice and some cups. And we can see that they seem to be copy and pasted from each other, although there is one somewhat major difference, and I thought it was kind of funny, so I want to point it out. These upside down cups here are white, while over here for this one, they turned metallic somehow. It seems the material is being applied perhaps by mistake, or maybe this was done on purpose, I don't know. But either way, I think these ambient rooms are awesome. Back in Black Ops 2, of course, there was nothing inside of these walls, they were just completely flat. And in fact, the color theme from each side didn't even pour over into here, so that was an addition here for BO7 that didn't exist back in the day. This info booth here in the center has changed quite a bit though, and we can see that now it acts as an area to buy tickets. And it also has this little animated screen up top of a train running through. Which I thought this was kind of interesting, and I was wondering how they pulled this off, and it seems that this is actually 2 separate decals. If we go to one end of it, like right here, and we wait long enough, we can see that there are actually 2 different animations playing, as the train on the right side actually appears before the train on the left side arrives at the seam. But now that we sort of covered this lobby area, let's talk about the mall that's attached to it, which has a bunch of shops here lining each side, and if we fade from this to the modern day, we can see that there is a whole lot that has changed. For one, there actually isn't a lot going down here at the bottom. There's just this coffee shop, which is quite nice, don't get me wrong, I love it. I mean, I love me some coffee. But the rest of this area is quite bland, sort of like an actual mall is, I suppose. And I suppose one of the biggest changes is the lack of banners, which back in Black Ops 2, there were a ton of them here. Ones that were hanging right in the middle, as well as a few on the sides, of different things, I suppose, that tourists could do here in California. The shops, though, are in roughly the same places, but of course, the branding has changed. And in fact, it looks like most of them are all closed on up. And talking about branding here, if we go on over to Black Ops 2, well, to both the left and the right here, there was a burger town, hidden away and mostly out of sight. You could just barely see it from inside the map. I thought these were a really cool detail, as most people probably don't even know that they're here, and unfortunately for Black Ops 7, they are completely gone. It's actually very undetailed down here, and you can definitely tell the lack of lighting probes as well, with these very shiny looking walls. Something that is interesting to note, if we back all the way up to the glass here and fade back to Black Ops 2, we can see just how much smaller this area was in the old days. There is a massive difference here, and although there was quite a bit more modeling in BO2, there's a lot more space to be filled out here in Black Ops 7. There's these extra lanes to the right and left that go outside the map and you can't see them, and they also have these very colorful strips of light along the top of them, with even some business names on them, although it's kind of hard to see. The lower level shops here also have this strip of light, but instead of having a business name, they just say shop. This very much so gives off blockout, and I imagine that's exactly what's going on here. Most likely, these shops all said shop above them at one point, before that sign was replaced and this area was detailed. And for our final few details, there is no elevator entrance down here in BO7, which is kind of strange, to be honest with you, but I guess you don't see it when you're inside the map, so fair enough. And above us, the skylight, well, it's in roughly the same place that it was back in BO2, but there's no banners blocking it now, and we can fly on up through it and take a look at the overall shape of the building from the top. It's kind of in the shape of a horseshoe in the way, with the two tunnels for the train that go off into the right and the left. And in Black Ops 2, of course, this was true there as well, although it looked very different in a lot of ways. The materials were different as well. There was some modeling here on the roof that doesn't exist in BO7. Which, with that being said, let's get a few more side-by-sides of the map here from above. It's really cool to put together all of these changes and see just how different the map is now. I mean, I feel like one of the biggest changes is the surrounding environment. The difference between LA and Japan is massive. And if we go really high above the map here, we can see just how exaggerated that difference is. And I think the devs did a damn good job with this remake of Express. Which, about remakes, there is another one on the map Express outside of the map that is a multiplayer map from Black Ops 4 called Gridlock. One that I really didn't play very much of, unfortunately. I didn't play Black Ops 4 for, well, other than like a week or two. But you guys have told me in the comment section of this episode of Dev Tricks and Secrets that this map is Grind from Black Ops 4. So it'll be cool to see what this map looks like when it's outside of its low poly form. Because right now, well, there's not exactly a lot of polygons going on. And while we're here above the map, let's compare the cityscape. For instance, there is this residential area, I suppose, around the exterior, and we can see how that has changed in Black Ops 7 to include a whole bunch more skyscrapers. In BO2, though, the skyscrapers were forward from the map and all together here in the distance, and we can compare this area as well, which had a lot of low-res textures in the old days. And I suppose that is sort of still the same case today, although there is a lot more buildings. We can see that the entire Vista was built on top of a satellite view of what looks like a real shot of Japan from the top down. Or at least I assume it is. I mean, those look like real cars there down the road. This has to be a satellite image. Oh my god, wait, it says Google. Well, there you go. I guess we know now. This is definitely some Google images right here. That's pretty cool to see. Back in Black Ops 2, the same thing is actually true here as well. Except the Google images back then were much more low res, and it was a lot harder to tell if this was real or not. I actually can't get over the fact that this says Google. That's so cool, man. I hope there's no like trademark issues there. Surely not, right? Love you, Treyarch. Oh god. And if you want more videos like this in the future, please let me know down in the comment section. And while you're there, leave a like on the video and make sure you subscribe so you can come back for more, because that is it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I had a lot of fun comparing Express here, just like for Raid as well. It's really cool to see how the development of Call of Duty has changed over the years. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you want to watch more of my content, you can click one of the videos on your screen right now, but if not, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay awesome, and peace out.